Okay. So, you good? So if you're watching on Facebook, this is the behind-the-scenes part of the YaJagoff podcast. It comes out every week. And you'll see this is the part where you see sort of the sausage being made, where you see people in and out. You'll see guests in and out and whatever. And then when you listen to the podcast, when it comes out on Monday on the radio.com app, KDKA radio app, and the YaJagoff.com on Tuesday, you will hear it nicely edited with our music and all those kind of things. So what you're seeing is us just kind of going it.
Where are we?
Right. So we're at Construction Junction, which is, you have to see it to be amazed by it. Oh and gosh. I remember being here for a big party one time and it poured down rain, but we still had a good time. So anyways.
So even if it's raining, you enjoy Construction Junction. That's
right. So what we do is we read an ad for our sponsor, and then there would be music, and then we go right into our guests, right?
I'm ready.
Cool. All right. Christmas may be host to mega deals we can drive away with happy, but February is the month we love at Rohrich Honda. For the first time ever, Rohrich Honda will offer 0% financing for up to 60 months on select vehicles.
We say
select vehicles.
We say don't be a jagoff and ask which ones. Head to West Liberty Avenue and check out the options. But okay, it's 2020 CRVs, HRVs, and Ridgelines, as well as the 21 Pilot. How about that? Listen to the podcast, head to Rohrich for all of your vehicle needs. And now we will start the YaJagoff podcast from
Construction Junction. All right, so this is where you'd hear like a music and a little thing.
Ooh,
do it. Yeah, all right. So we are coming into the podcast listening. Like you walk around Construction Junction, you think I have a lot of hard work. My body's going to hurt. But then you hear Hillary back there going, if I could take him to my house while I'm putting in the sink, I might not be so angry and throwing tools.
Well, and I don't know if you heard me, but I said we actually learned how to play the steel pan.
We did. That's exactly right.
So we could jump in, I guess, at some point.
So this is the YaJagoff podcast. If you don't listen every week, we'd appreciate you go to either the radio.com app or wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to it. We're here every week with 3 or 4 guests. Actually, last week was a little bit different because of the Save Our Stages initiative that we did. So we had a round table, but the fact is we're here every week with local music and local things, all this cool stuff going on in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and don't forget, listen to the Daily Dose of Happiness on Star 100.7 at 4:55 with Cal on Air, where John and Rachel do the Daily Dose every day. Every day we find something positive. And also, we point out who the Jagoff of the week was. Usually it's a Parker, because John gets road rage, in case you didn't know. Like,
get irritated when people can't park. We saw one here.
Yeah, we did. We didn't take a picture, though.
No, we didn't.
But essentially, we're on with Yalista on Star 100.7 every Friday, declaring who the biggest Jagoff of the week was. So. And
also, we have swag, Jagoff T-shirts and things like that, and mugs. And you can now, you typically have only been able to order those online. Now you can go to the Steel City Craft Emporium, which is a crafter's heaven down at 3121 in Penn Avenue in the upper strip. The coolest part about the whole thing is it's free parking.
There's literally a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm super stoked because I'm not handy. I don't claim to be. It's not something that I ever, have tooted my horn, nor are you. If you'd like me to out you.
No, that's fine.
So, as you know, we love to find things out about Pittsburgh and its locations. And you've been to Construction Junction before. I have not. But ironically, you know how things happen, right? I was just flipping through Facebook and someone said, where's that place in the East? And I can't think of what it's called. And I was so excited that I could type Construction Junction because it was like I knew, even though I've not been here before. So we get to talk to Mike and Melissa. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Melissa's nervous because
you can get real close.
She wanted to know what questions, and we said, they are.
Oh yeah, it gets rough. It starts to get rough starting right now.
We're ready.
No, it's honestly.
They're gonna grill me. They're gonna grill me. So I want to start out asking you a question. Can we talk to you about maybe creating a reuse and recycle YaJagoff T-shirt or a hat or something?
Done.
Let's do that.
Microphone drop.
This is perfect. Educate us. Yeah, we're in. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
All right.
And nothing like
Yeah.
starting the show with that, Mike. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't waste any time,
Yeah.
brother. I love
No,
it.
I love that.
He's
Why
just
wouldn't
chock
we?
full of good ideas
Mills
all the
That's
time.
a great idea.
So we are at Construction Junction, and for those of you who live under a rock here in Pittsburgh, you don't even admit you'd never heard of it, because you guys used to have the best party on the block right before the COVID stuff happened, right? And that would be my experience. We came out here to the Construction Junction annual party, and it was pouring down rain. I was just telling Rachel, pouring. And there was still a line of people out to get in this thing because it was a coveted ticket. So first of all, tell us about Construction Junction. Please start talking about the party at some point, because we know it's going to come back once everybody's vaccinated.
Yes, we are eager for it to come back, because
Yeah.
we did not have it last year, obviously. So Construction Junction is a nonprofit used and surplus building material retail warehouse, and it was created over 20 years ago.
Wow.
By several different organizations. One of them is an organization you're going to interview later, the Pennsylvania Resources Council.
Yep.
And it was created for the specific purpose of keeping building materials out of the landfill. And just to give everybody a little bit of perspective, 548 million tons of building materials are landfilled in the United States every single year.
Wow.
To wrap your head around that number,
Yeah.
that's 2 times the amount of material that's put out by every single person in the United States on trash day.
Oh,
Oh my God.
Two
That's
times,
such a cool
2
comparison.
times
Wow.
the amount.
That's how much I feel like I weigh when I leave Primanti's at 2 o'clock in the morning, too.
And it's kind of difficult to kind of get your head around, or to get the data around how much of that material is reusable, but
Yeah.
up to about 25% of that construction, demolition, renovation waste potentially can be reused, and about 70% of it can be recycled. So there's a really small percentage of that waste stream that has literally no use at all.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So that's the fundamental reason that we're here, is to give people that outlet, and a place where they can act on their desire to not throw usable
Right.
material away.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. I think it's something they just do, right? It's what you've known. So if you're not given that message, they really don't know what to do if it's reusable.
Right.
Talk to, like John said, for someone who hasn't been here, like myself, when you walk through the door, what do they expect?
It's a different bird every week.
Right.
It really is. I mean, some weeks you'll walk in and see a bunch of refurbished appliances from our partnership with Appliance Warehouse, or maybe we might get a huge donation from a local hotel of like the little mini bar refrigerator. So instead of throwing that out, having to reclaim the Freon, there's still a lot of life left in them. And
Oh,
they
yeah, that's a
send
good
them
point.
to us, and you can use them for your house, and it's just at a fraction of the cost too.
Right.
So we're saving materials from the landfill, but we're also helping people out. Get stuff that they maybe couldn't afford, at a lower price because it's used, but it's still in good condition.
Right.
So we have tons of kitchen sets, countertops. Like I personally redid my bathroom with 50% of reused materials from Construction Junction. It turned out beautifully. It's just a mindset. It's just you have
That's
to
exactly
make
right.
that choice
Yeah.
to say, okay, what can I go and get from Construction Junction to save money, save something from the landfill, make my house look prettier? It's just.
Well,
Yeah.
and
It's a
if
no-brainer,
you don't
yeah.
mind me interjecting, support local, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
why go to these larger stores if I need one piece of drywall, right? Why run out there? And so talk a little bit about that. It is that mindset. All right, I'm just going to run up the highway to, we won't say their names, right? And or I can come out here to the east end and
Make a
look
difference.
around. But
Yeah.
is there a way that if I need a piece of drywall, if I need a cabinet, is there a way I go online to find out if it's there versus taking a chance?
Well, there's two different ways to shop the store.
Okay.
You know, you can actually come into the store, but we also have our website, which is cjreuse.org. You can see some of the featured finds, and we can't exactly put everything online.
Sure.
But
Sure.
we also, during COVID, started a text hotline. So we actually have someone on staff here that you can send them a text and be like, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? You know, kind of do like a prelim. And then he could send you pictures, send you measurements. So you
that's cool.
Yeah, we needed it. We
Yeah.
needed a lifeline for people that might be immune compromised, you know, or just still nervous. Everybody's
Sure.
level's a little bit
Absolutely,
different, you know.
yeah.
But we wanted to have that other way of getting into the store.
But the crazy part is, if you saw people, you know, during the entire pandemic, home improvements was the number one thing that was up because you're at home. So you got sick of looking at your four walls. So it was like, you know, it was sort of a juxtaposition. But I'm sure, did you see a boom from that?
So it's a really important point about when you ask, what do you expect to see when you come in here?
Yeah.
It's that everyone needs to understand that over 90% of what you see when you walk into this facility,
Pull the mic up low. There you go.
that when you walk into this facility is donated material. So we do not have really much control over
Sure.
what comes in and out.
Yeah.
So you may come here expecting to find something and it may not be here. So you
Right.
may have to come here multiple times. That's the reason we ask people also to go to the website
Sure.
first and check and see what kinds of material we have. We have featured inventory on that website.
So you're updating it continuously.
We're updating
Yeah.
it continuously. And we did experience an explosion of donations. We were basically closed down from March until the end of May as far as our picking up
Sure.
donations. So we have three ways that we collect material from folks. You can drop it off, and we have a lot of loading docks and a lot of staff to help you do that. We have 2 box trucks that will go out and pick up material at no charge.
Oh, okay.
So if you can't fit that 20-piece kitchen set into the trunk of your Honda Civic, we got an
Nice
answer.
placement, by the way. That is
that
very
was
good.
good.
The Rohrich guys will be
Colin,
so
did you
happy.
get that?
we got an answer for you. We also have a crew that will go into buildings, commercial buildings, residential buildings before demolition, and they'll pull stuff out. So they'll pull out trim, they'll pull out cabinets, they'll pull out plumbing fixtures, they'll pop
Wow.
up hardwood flooring. So that's a process we call deconstruction or unbuilding. So those are the 3 ways that material comes into the building.
Yes.
When we open back up again to the public at the end of May, we
I
got
can't imagine.
slammed with stuff, and I think other nonprofits like Goodwill and Off the Floor,
Yeah.
and I think also were just overwhelmed because everybody being at home, like, okay, what am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to clean out the,
Yes.
the attic in my
basement.
garage. I'm going to clean out that room, that spare room that I never got rid of that, dresser or whatever, or I left those couple doors from my last renovation project 10 years ago in the basement. Now's my chance to
Yeah.
get rid of those things.
Yeah.
So, and when you
That's good.
donate, because we're a nonprofit, you can choose to take a tax deduction for the fair
Right.
market value of that material. So we will
Okay.
provide you with a receipt, and you as the donor set the value for your donation, and that's another benefit. So not only are you keeping stuff out of the landfill, you're creating jobs,
Yeah.
reusing materials, keeping them out of the landfill, creates about 50 times more jobs than putting material into the landfill
Wow.
because it's a labor-intensive activity.
Wow,
So
that's
we do
true.
a lot of job training, and we do a lot of work with other organizations to provide employment and job readiness experience, because reuse is a very labor-intensive activity.
Yeah. So I want to remind everybody we're talking to Mike and Melissa from Construction Junction, and that's where the podcast is coming from. So this is awesome. Now, I know the Goodwill has issues like this. There are things you don't want. Like don't be a jagoff. If you're cleaning out your garage and you have a bunch of old 2x4s with nails sticking out, you don't want that stuff.
No,
you want to be nice,
yeah.
but there are certain things you probably can't take. And don't just bring
Yeah.
your trash here.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not a garbage drop-off.
Right.
We actually have a do and don't on our website.
Yep.
And
Okay.
so, I mean, if the kitchen's in really great condition, but there's water damage and mold, then no,
Yeah.
that's, that can't be, there's just, you can't get rid of that, so there, we often direct people to there, but then we just get a lot of good quality donations that, helps continue our mission, does, creates jobs, and working with other partnerships like Off the Floor and stuff, it's really helping the community in more ways than you can even see at store level, and that's what's so important.
We'll take those 2x4s if you pop the nails out of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because that's a
He said, bad example, John.
Yeah.
no.
Right. He said, not good question.
It's a good no. It's,
D-nailed and at least 4 feet long.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
because lumber is
Oh,
a
yeah.
very large percentage of the waste stream. Is a very large percentage of the waste stream. And when you put lumber into a landfill, everybody thinks, oh, it's it's wood, it's a natural material, right? It's going to decay. Well, when you put wood in a landfill, there's not oxygen in the landfill, so the wood actually off-gasses, and it off-gasses methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So we need to keep lumber out of the
Look at that.
landfill. So really, really important to keep lumber out of the landfill. And I believe it's about 70 million tons of lumber go into the landfill annually. So we're talking big, big numbers. And if we can start to pull more of this material, intercept it before it goes to the landfill, send
Yes.
it to places like Construction Junction, we can solve a lot of issues regarding.
Do you guys mind if we cancel the rest of the guests and just keep talking to you?
No
Because I
way.
could think of 1,000
We
questions.
can talk
No,
all day
no,
long.
I know this is fantastic, but there's so much knowledge and so much science here. I feel like a complete failure from my grade school science. But now we're in the community room here, and so what you talked about some education. So what happens in the community room? Can I come here to learn how to install a plug or a countertop, or what do you guys do here?
Well,
Go ahead.
before COVID, we did some.
Yes.
We did activities in this room, training activities. We also and Missy can speak more to the other ways that we support smaller businesses through pop-up opportunities and some of the events and things that we do. We use this room also for local community events, community meetings.
okay.
We occasionally have podcast interviews in here.
What? I didn't even know there was another podcast, to be honest with you.
I
You said it with an S like there were multiple.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was.
What's that?
So we have used this room for a lot of different things, but of course it's just been completely shut down
Sure.
for the last
Yeah.
over the last year. So we're looking forward to activating it again. And we also we use this room also to circle back to your question about the Big Pour, which is our
The Big Pour.
the big Steel City
Yes.
Big Pour. That's our annual fundraiser, and some of that activity has now moved into this room, which is our VIP room. So we
Okay.
have you can get a different kind of ticket and come in here for specific food and beer tasting. But the Big Pour event itself is a craft beer tasting event. We usually have 50 different breweries, lots of local, but also breweries that are not local. And we usually have between 20 and 25 local food partners. And you can sample beer and you can sample food. We've got music. We usually have some kind of art event, public art display. And you can experience all that for the price of a ticket.
That's awesome.
And just to remind you, this sounds very like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I might go to that. No, you better know you're going to go to it because within 24 hours, the tickets are gone. Or less than 24. I'm not overselling there, right?
No,
It is the ticket.
In the early years of the Big Pour, the first sort of 9 or 10 years
Yeah.
of the Big Pour, it sold out really quickly.
Okay.
The last few years, because craft beer is basically more readily available, and
Okay.
there are more people doing craft beer fundraisers, the event hasn't been selling out so fast. So, and the challenge that we've had is that people assume that it's sold out when we've had tickets.
Ah.
So
we've
John,
had-
don't advertise
so
like
we've
that.
we've had a challenging
You're not
time
helping.
sort of selling those last few stubborn tickets because everybody's
Gotcha.
like, oh, that event's
Sure.
sold out
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to say it's a good problem to have because we want to sell out.
Sure.
It's a really important event for
Yeah.
to help support our operations and our job training.
And it's a
programs.
great time. It's a great time.
Yeah, I had to get a
Awesome.
job here for me to be able to go. That's the only way I could get in.
And Missy, what pop-ups can we expect?
Okay, so pre-COVID, like I said, we used to have like tons of classes in this room. PRC, my girl Nancy would do composting classes, rain barrel classes, anything she could come up with. I'm like, yes, come. And now I'm focusing more on the pop-ups because one of the hardest hit communities, besides everyone during COVID, was our crafters.
Sure.
So all the craft shows were shut down this year. They moved them online, but there's something to be said to going and feeling and touching the product and seeing it made out of. So we have a little box in the front of the store that's my pop-up shop, and I offer that to any local crafter that would want to come and use it. I only charge $10 a day or $25 for a whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness,
Okay.
that's
The point
great.
of it is not for me to make money, it's to partner and it's to support local artists.
Give an outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, give them an outlet. It's like a temporary, like they can test market things, and kind
That's
of. And
great.
so basically, I would do Santa's workshop. Now we have to start it from October all the way to December because people were liking it. I had to move it into October. And then also during Earth Month, which is my personal baby from Construction Junction, everybody wanted to do something for Earth Day. But then when you try to plan something, PRC was busy with, donation pickups, or everybody already had that day scheduled. So I did an entire month of environmental centric activities, classes, pop-up artists. We actually purchased recycled pallet mulch to sell, recycled tire mulch to sell. Like we work with pit moss, which is made out of recycled newspapers to sell. So, and we found out that our clientele really does like to do a lot of gardening and stuff. So we invite whoever wants to come and spend time with us. I have a guy that makes worm castings. PRC comes and sets up an info table so we can learn about all the donation events that are happening. We have Nancy comes and does classes for us. So it's really like just pumped up on steroids, just a good time. And every single weekend, we have something going on that we can pull off this year,
Nice. Awesome.
safely.
I love it.
And you're right. We could sit and talk to them forever, but unfortunately,
right?
there's other people.
Yeah.
So the coveted question of the day is the scariest part. Are you ready for it? Before I give it, can you just tell everybody your website address again and where they can follow you on social media?
So they can go on, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. It's tjreuse.org is our website. So yeah, they can. We also have blogs. You can sign up for emails and blogs online too as well. Mike writes a blog every single week. Sometimes I guest blog whenever,
Nice.
he's out fighting the good fight.
Okay.
Nice.
So-
We're not playing you off. This isn't like the award shows. We're just playing a little music in the background.
We're going to take Hillary with us every week because I love
Yeah,
this.
this is
I get used to
awesome.
this. Okay, so the question of the day was going to be, if you can create your own hashtag, what would it be? But I think we're going to go a T-shirt. What is your next T-shirt saying going to be? And I think you answered it.
I think reuse and recycle YaJagoff is like
Boom.
gone to the top of the
That's
list.
awesome.
Our
Yeah.
contest winner for the day.
All right, you win. I don't know what you win, but you win.
I hope. I mean, it'd be just no other guest is going to beat that. To be honest with you, so
Yeah.
No, we
Thank
love
you guys
it.
so much. We
Thank
really
you so,
appreciate
so
being
you.
here.
much.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's fun.
And as you hear our Hillary, our musician, we're going to bring in our next guest. We'll wipe down the microphones so that we can bring in our next guest here. Cool. Oh yeah. Yeah, not yet. So we normally take our musician at the end because they're just filling us full of joy and music. But Hillary is here.
I mean, John, he came in with this. It wasn't a cart. It was like an econo cart. I don't even know how to explain it with his steel drum. I mean, are we saying it
Steel
wrong?
pan.
Is it pan?
Well,
Get real close.
in Trinidad.
Yeah, in Trinidad we call it pan.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm referred in Trinidad as a panist. I'm known as a panist.
Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
we play steel drum. But in America they call it steel drums.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so-
I was telling you when we weren't recording
Yes.
that we had the luxury of being around Lee Solomon,
Yes.
who taught us. And every time John would say steel drum, she would say, "It is not a steel drum; it is pan."
Yes.
So, and I love that because it is such an art.
Yes.
Right?
It's-
Could you explain a little bit? And I mean, talk about credentials. You know,
Okay.
you come from Trinidad.
Yeah.
You come here. What happens when you get to America? How different is it in from a music standpoint?
Well, when I came to America, I was touring with a band.
Okay.
I played with a orchestra in Trinidad, and we played from classical music all the way to pop music. So we
Oh,
played
wow.
classical music, pop music, calypso, which is the local music from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
But so we played all genre of music, and when we came here, we were playing in the Lincoln Center. We played a lot of schools. So we did a whole genre of music in one concert. So we'll start with classical music, we'll go to pop music, and then we'll end up with our traditional music, which is calypso.
I love
How
it.
cool is
So
that?
So
it's
cool.
How happy are you that you're from Trinidad? I'm sure you've been here for a while, but we brought you out on a 10-degree day to come.
I'm sure you got used to that.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
I'm sure. How long have you been in Pittsburgh?
I've been in Pittsburgh for 20 years.
Okay.
20
Wow.
years, yes.
And
Okay.
why Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Well, I came to Pittsburgh. A friend of mine invited me to Pittsburgh, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And so I decided to settle here. I went to college here. I went to
Carnegie Mellon.
Carnegie Mellon.
Wow.
I did a master's degree at Carnegie
Yeah.
Mellon.
How about that?
Yeah, right.
That's what I said. Like, talk about a repertoire of information.
Exactly.
So, what has it been? You know, you can't avoid the COVID conversation, right? Unfortunately, we're still battling it. You're fine. We're still battling it. But what has it been like from a musician standpoint? How have you had to reinvent?
Well, for the year last year, I did one gig, and it's for most musicians who are full-time musicians, it's devastating.
Yeah, it's devastating. Yeah.
Because they're not able to make the income
Right.
that they usually make from the music.
Right.
So most of them, they do podcasts, right? And they also have accounts where you can actually contribute
Yes.
to the podcast.
Right.
So that sustained a lot of musicians.
Okay.
And then we have other musicians like who teach. They're teaching online. They do
Sure.
their classes online.
Sure.
So that's.
But for musicians, even though it is a profession, it's also a passion.
It is
So
a-
I'm sure, that's hard because I'm sure the practice level is different. I'm sure you were keeping up with your craft, so to speak, at home, right?
Yes.
But I just think, I find, like John said, last week we were at the Vault recording studio talking about what a devastating, people were focused so much, and rightfully so, on our grocery store workers and people like that, our healthcare workers. Yeah. But the music industry and the entertainment industry really was gone. And that's everybody's release. So I think it's been, a difficult time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. It's very difficult.
But your music is so happy. Like, does it, I mean, music gives you happiness, obviously, because this is your profession. But where do you find solace in this type of, like for me, as soon as I hear a steel pan playing, I think of wine, I think of a cruise, I think of sunshine. And what does that music do to you as far as bringing back memories of a childhood or anything like that?
Well, I can remember the first time I heard a steel drum in Trinidad. I was probably about 4 years old, and my mom took me to watch the Carnival Parade.
Oh, okay.
And there was a steel band. And the instruments were crude, right? It was just the beginning stages of the steel drums. And I was so enamored with that music that I got lost. I started following the band, and my mom had to come and look for me.
No way.
Because of the music. And so I started playing at 8 years old.
Wow.
I started playing the steel drum music. And I've watched the instrument developed.
Yes.
Right, because the first instrument were painted. They were painted, and they were the design was very crude. But I've seen it develop into a chromed instrument and a professional instrument. This particular instrument was made by the best crafter in Trinidad.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, he's the best in the world because Trinidad is the home of steel drums.
Right.
So the person who crafted this, Guppy Brown, he was considered the best in the world. So this is like a Stradivarius of steel drums.
Oh, get out of town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So you didn't buy that at Construction Junction?
Oh no, no.
Yeah, you can't get that here.
This was purchased in Trinidad.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he passed away about 2 years ago.
Is someone continuing his legacy?
Well, his sons are continuing
Okay.
his legacy.
Yeah.
But his technique,
Yeah, sure.
no one has his technique.
No one, yeah. Wow.
So I have some friends I have a friend who I played with, and he's a crafter, steel drum crafter. And I had a note was out on this, and I took it to him in New York, and he said, Hillary, I'm going to fix this note, but nobody can fix this but Guppy Brown. You have to go back to Trinidad and get him to fix it.
No way.
And I went back to Trinidad and fixed it before he passed away.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Now,
a great story.
Speaking of New York, now you're not just, you toured in New York, right? You played
Yes,
in New York.
I lived in New York. I worked in New York in terms of steel drums. I did arrangements for the bands in New York.
Oh, wow.
And I played with a group in New York. We did tours to Finland. We did the Pori Jazz Festival. So we did some.
And what about here? Coming back here, what are you doing now?
Well, I have a 9-to-5 job,
Gotcha.
So I work a full-time job now. So this is my part-time
Hobby.
passion.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Well, I mean, what a hobby. I mean, that's all
Yes.
I could say. Seriously, we want you to come with us all the time. We have to figure out a
How do we do that?
sponsor
Yeah,
for
right.
Hillary. Right? No,
Yeah,
Hillary.
and these are all handcrafted. Every instrument is handcrafted. Like
Yes.
this. As we had learned in a previous podcast, there's certain stones or certain hammers that they use, and how do
to
they
create the sound, right?
Yeah. Well, if you look at an orchestra, it's one. I would say it's one of the hidden wonders of the world, because a lot of people doesn't know about the steel drum, right? So we have this instrument that's called a soprano, right? So we call it tenor, right?
Okay.
But it's actually a soprano side, and then The next level down, we have a double tenor.
Okay.
Which is a little lower level. Then we have a double seconds, which is a little lower. Then we have guitars, right, with your pans that we call a guitar pan.
Yeah.
Right. So those are like cordial instruments. Then we have like triple pans, quadraphonics, and six pan. Right. So those are six steel drums
Wow.
that are melodic, that carry melodies.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have the bass section, which is the tenor basses, which are 4 pans. Then we have the 6 basses, right, which is the full steel drum, full steel drum. And then we have 9 basses, which is 6 and 3 on the
Wow.
side. Then we have 12 basses, which is 6 on the ground and 6 all around. Right? So we have, so we can create a full orchestra.
Right.
We have played classics like William Tell Overture, the full William Tell Overture, Staccato and Fugue, Rossini's Wedding Dance, Flight of the Bumblebee.
Oh,
we have played all
wow.
those classics.
Wow.
And they're available online.
Oh,
If
really?
you go online and you Google like steel drums, classical music, you will hear the classics that we're playing.
Wow.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I would definitely
Yeah.
do that. Yeah. Whoops. I just lost my
Where
ears.
does everyone find you online? Can they get any excerpts of things that you've done?
Well, I've worked with Dr. Johnson
Yeah.
and his jazz, the Afro-American Institute
Afro-American,
Jazz
yes.
Band. So I've worked with him, but I'm not a I don't put any.
You don't do that, yeah.
I don't put too much.
We'll
stuff
actually
out.
put the Afro-American Institute so that they can see just the
Okay.
beauty
Yeah.
of the sound. No, I totally understand. Hillary, thank you so much for gracing us seriously with
we
your
didn't
time.
even give your last name though. Is it Borneo or
Borneo, yes.
Okay,
Borneo.
Borneo.
Okay.
It was a 50-50 chance.
All right, you have to answer the question of the day too.
Yes.
If it was a T-shirt or a hashtag, what would yours be? Something like Trinidad or bust.
It would be.
Some new saying.
Some news.
I'm thinking something like something with steel.
Steel
drum.
pan?
Steel
Yeah.
pan.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be jazz on steel.
Love it.
Oh,
There you
that's
go.
Boy, that's
Yeah,
really.
it's better than
if
what I
you
was
steal
thinking.
That, if you're watching on the internet, you
Yeah,
steal
don't patent that.
We will come find you. Hillary will
Hillary,
come
thank
find
you so much. We
Yeah.
certainly
Thank you.
appreciate it. If
Thank
we
you
could
for
just hear
having
you
me.
one more time before you leave.
Yes,
All
I
right,
will.
you're the best.
All right, cool.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was awesome. Now, am I incorrect? Are you not Sarah? I'm Sarah. Okay. I thought Melissa was saying Nancy, and I thought, did I?
Nancy does work for PRC and she does our rotation workshops.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't calling you the wrong name. You didn't correct me. I seriously want to take him home with me. I could listen to that all day. That is awesome. Okay, so thanks to Hillary, I mean, we're all in the mood to kind of go on a Caribbean cruise at this point but we want to continue to talk about.
The cool thing is that Hillary, you don't know this because off camera, he whispered in our ear and said the next podcast is in Trinidad.
Yeah,
and he's
we're
paying for
going.
us all to go next Saturday. So it's totally cool.
Right. You just didn't hear that.
Yeah.
But like I said, like we could continue to just pretend that we're going there, but let's have more of a conversation on the importance of recycling and how we can do that. And so I love the way this podcast is going because it's piecing everything together for people who really don't know how they can. Because I really believe most people have good intentions. They just don't know what to do, you know? And so I think it's really cool to really have the perspective of you guys. And when we were setting this podcast up, I know the folks here at Construction Junction said we absolutely had to have PRC. I mean, that's what I heard, right? So welcome, Sarah. Talk to us, what is PRC? I mean, explain what it is and how your relationship works here at Construction Junction.
So Pennsylvania Resources Council, we're an environmental nonprofit statewide, office outside of Philly and our main office here in Pittsburgh. Our tagline is envisioning a Pennsylvania where nothing is wasted. So really looking at how do we reduce not only, you know, what's going to a landfill, how can we divert it to recycling, to composting, but how do we generate less stuff in the first place? And I think the education, kind of like you're saying, getting that knowledge out there to people so they know how to do that is one of the things that we try to do. So it's everything from trying to set up glass recycling locations, you know, around the area here in Allegheny County. It can be holding collection events for hazardous materials or televisions, all the way to teaching backyard composting workshops, how to install a rain barrel and collect your rainwater. So it's a wide range of programs we do, but it's all under that guise of how do we,
it's so funny that you say it like it's not like, or how to get your rain barrel. You know? I love that.
And that's all awesome. Nancy. So we're shouting out Nancy a couple times here from PRC.
Yeah.
She's our educator and does, right now we had to kind of pivot from the in-person, but we do webinars now.
We hate that word, pivot. We hate it.
I
have to tell you.
Scratch that.
No, we all have pivoted. We're like we're like pivot numb at this point,
no,
right?
It's okay.
Because we are. Please pick a different word. Re-engineering.
Okay. Somebody told me the other day they wanted to get rid of the term thought leader. So that was the word that they were over in the new realm. So we switched.
There you go.
From our in-person, like everybody's doing, trying to figure out how to deal with COVID, switch so now people can take backyard composting webinars, and then they can pick up in a safe manner a bin at our office in the north side.
That's great.
Yeah, just trying to find different ways to get that message out there to really help people who want to get to a certain point. How do they get there? Do we show them, why should you recycle your glass? And here's where you can recycle it now if you can't recycle it curbside. Or you want to learn how to stop throwing your banana peels and stuff in the trash. Well, here, take our webinar, learn how to backyard compost. It's not complicated, but here, we just want to introduce you to that and try to make it as, easy as possible to get and reach out to as many people as we can.
And do you find that truly people are with good intention, they just don't know?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think most people, and I think especially when it comes to recycling, there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of years as to what you can put or what will be accepted in the curbside bin that you set out every week. And people want to do the right thing. They don't want to throw the stuff in the landfill, but we need to do a good job at educating and letting people know what should you be putting in there, what goes in there, because I think that helps them. If you're a term that it might not be as bad as pivoting, but I've heard going around is wish cycling. What we say is, so as people, they hope this plastic that they have, so they're going to put it in their bin, but really in the end, it's not recyclable, and it ends up kind of not being a benefit to putting it in there, messing kind of stuff up down. So really just trying to educate, because I think once people know how to do it, they're more than happy to do it and do it properly. It's just, getting the word out there.
And you're good with wish cycling. I don't think it's ever been used on the podcast in 5 years. So that's your word. Yeah. So is there, we talk about pandemic fatigue right now. Is your job hard because there's recycling fatigue, because we get all ramped up in the community, and this color bin goes this and this color bin and blah, blah, blah. Everybody kind of buys into it. Then suddenly it comes out, well, we're not sure, like the news hits. So maybe do people get recycling fatigue where it has to you have to re-energize?
I think one thing they get though is you realize, so recently, maybe in the last year, glass was removed from a lot of curbside, but we heard from so many people how upset they were that they couldn't put their glass, like it really impacted them, like almost the opposite thought process, that they were like really crushed, that they were like, I can't, for years and years and years, I put this material in, and what do I do now, and kind of hearing that, and that spurred PRC and a number of other organizations around the area and even some private businesses to put into place, here's some places you can go to take it so that you can make sure that, that glass whiskey bottle, whatever you buy and you finish, that put that in that glass bin, and within, maybe a month, or month or two, maybe more, you're going back and maybe you're using some of that, glass you just used. So, and we're even seeing kind of like, Mike and Missy mentioned the donation, like increase at a lot of our recycling collection events are hazardous waste, which is like oil-based paints and those kind of things. Oh. We're seeing an increase of people bringing the material. I think in part, much like with CJ's, people are at home. They're cleaning out, their rooms to make a home office, or they're, going into their basement. And there's a really, I think, desire for a lot of people to find the proper way to get rid of stuff. So we just have to reach out to them and make those options convenient and affordable for people so that they're able to do it.
Well, and I was going to say, I guess it's more this, we've all taken silver linings from this because we didn't have a choice, sink or swim, right? And so I think that you're right. If for people to reach out, the desire is there. So I think with when you have time, then you can actually do a lot of things. That's what I've taken away for me, because none of us ever had time. And now that we have the time, it's being invested in the right ways. Where are some places that people can do drop-offs? And what, you've mentioned some of them, but what is the most common thing that's dropped off or donated?
So for our events, we have different types. So we have hard to recycle events that we do, and those are electronics, tires, like free-on appliances, those types of things. And we do a number of those throughout the year, different places around Allegheny County. North, south, try to, and the same for our hazardous materials types of collections. There are Saturday, there are, 4 hours, come this time, bring, these materials. But the glass has really been a big thing for people. Awesome. And it's great to see, the city of Pittsburgh has rolled out a number of drop-offs for glass, and CJ has one in their parking lot here for people to bring. And then PRC has worked with a lot of municipalities outside the city who want to bring that to their residents. So, for instance, right now, there is a bin in Hampton, or at least it'll be the last week of January, first week of February, I should say. So out there that their residents can go and drop their glass off. So really, it's like, take that extra step if you can. Save it. Don't, throw it away. I know you need to take that extra step now on a lot of these items. You have to save it. You have to transport it somewhere. But I think a large majority of people are willing to do that because they know that the end, goal is a good one. Yeah.
And
it's so interesting to me.
I know. And I think educating people what happens, like the importance of why do I do this? But so what happens to an electronics? A computer, a TV. I now take my TV to the strip district, pay so much per pound.
That's why I looked at you, because
exactly.
you just did that.
And so what happens to that? They don't just take it and throw it in a special dumpster. They take it apart. What happens there?
Well, that's great. And the city does run a...
You almost said good question, and then I'd have to make you leave because I have the better questions. Okay. But go ahead.
I was like,
no, you're good.
PRC works with an e-waste recycler called E-Loop. They're local. They're out in Export, PA. And what they do is they will take the materials that we collect at our events, take them back to their facility, and kind of demanufacture as much of the material as possible. So breaking apart plastic components, circuit board components, if it's an old leaded glass CRT TV, they're going to separate that out. And then all of those different materials go to downstream places that are going to find another use for them, whether they're going to recycle those plastic casings, find, precious metals out of circuit boards. It's not going to, the idea. And that's one of the reasons we work with, to give a shout out to eLoop. We've worked with them for a number of years. They're great people. They're a certified, e-waste recyclers need to be certified. There's different types of certifications they can get. And eLoop is what's called an e-steward, and that's like the highest level of certification, and that guarantees, no overseas shipment of materials, very stringent, like where do they send their material after it leaves, eLoop's facility. And so we feel that hopefully that helps people that want to come to our events feel really confident in handing over their electronics so they know that it's not going to end up in a dump, it's not going to end up in a warehouse, and that's hopefully when people think of PRC, that they feel that we're kind of a great resource for what to do with that kind of stuff.
And I could talk to her for hours too.
We're gonna be the best
recyclers.
So the best, I'd have to think that the education of someone like me is one thing, breaking habits, but getting to the younger kids and creating habits and creating routine,
a routine,
right? Is that what percentage of your time is on that, or does somebody else do that?
Yeah, and once again, just to mention Nancy again from our office,
I know
who
what
is
her
our
t-shirt's
educator.
gonna say.
It's gonna be like Nancy.
I'm gonna make sure she listens. For sure. We used to, and we don't as much because of the current COVID, did a lot of in-classroom programs around watershed awareness, recycling, composting. So there was a portion of the work that we did prior to COVID. We're starting to get back into it a little bit with some schools interested in doing like virtual. So hopefully, though, by next school year, we'll be able to get a little more back into that.
Okay.
But the point of, if you kind of hook kids, a lot of times they bring that message back to their homes
no doubt.
and their parents then hear, well, don't put that there, or why are we throwing this banana peel in the trash? We should compost that, and you know what that means. So I think it's a great way to connect not only with kids, but then reach a whole bigger audience through, educating kids in the classroom.
Yeah, that's
Well,
so
this
true.
is awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where does everybody find PRC? Internet, social media, any of those?
All of those. PRC.org is our website. We have Facebook, Instagram, all of those. Check us out. And I think another thing for us is that we like to just be a resource. So if people have something and they're like, what do I do with this? Give us a call at our office, and we're happy to, connect you with, you have an old kitchen set? Oh, is it good condition? Oh, well, you need to take it to Construction Junction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you have some old furniture, but it's in really great condition? Well, actually reach out to Off the Floor, because they could use it. And so, being also that clearinghouse, or whatever you want to call it, a resource line, please feel free. We ask people and welcome people to call us to try and help them with that.
I love it. So this is where we have to
This
ask.
is where we guess what's on her T-shirt.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Wait, I think we all win, but we'll let Hillary play some music, because
Okay.
when you first came in, you had your head kind of doing the thing. So as
it's
you
very-
answer our
it's very
question and go
good.
out, I want you to,
I like it.
just kind of have
Okay.
some fun.
All right, I'm
I
guessing.
feel like I need
So-
like a stand-up.
Yeah,
There you go. All right, so now we're in the mood.
What's your guess that her T-shirt?
Her,
her
she's
hashtag?
just going to say hashtag Nancy.
Or
Whoa,
I heart Nancy.
that would
I
be-
heart Nancy.
So what will your
That would be perfect. That would be my first one. The
Okay.
second one would be kind of a play on Mike. So PRC, not invented, but copyrighted the litter bug. Don't be a litter bug.
Oh,
so
okay.
I would say, YaJagoff, don't be a litter bug.
There you go.
Would be my
Don't be a
second
litter
one.
bug, you JaGoff.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love
That's
it.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. And thanks to CJ. Thank you guys for PRC.
Well, thanks for being willing to have fun with us. Cool. Thank you.
So I have to ask you though, does North Hills participate in anything like as a school district?
North. I don't know. I'd have to check with them.
Yeah, let me know because
Okay.
I'm on the board.
Really?
And I would love to at least introduce. If
Oh.
it's not there, probably implement.
That would be.
Yeah.
I would
yeah,
love that.
for
Okay.
sure. Well, and Tracy on our team will email you.
Okay.
And stuff. So
Get in
if you
touch.
think of it, yeah.
Okay.
If you think of it when you're in the office or whatever, just email Tracy.
Okay.
And say, give this to Rachel because.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to make that happen.
Where
yeah,
in the North,
for
where in the
sure.
North Hills do you live? Are you like?
How what?
Are you in the school district?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I live out in Emsworth, so we're close.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
in Avonmore School District. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Thank
so much.
you.
I really
Appreciate it. Yep. Come on up.
Yeah, it's totally. Don't feel obligated. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else's background music makes me kind of feel like I'm in a
Yes. I'll take it, right?
cruising down the sidewalk.
I enjoyed the last two.
Okay, sure.
Give it Vince Carvalho that first one.
All right. So we're continuing on. We have one more guest, which you're going to love in a little bit here, but
You can't tell I'm smiling.
so get real close to the microphone here.
Okay.
Two more guests, yeah. So Bob Meyer is Bob Myers, right?
Myers.
You're from Off the Floor. Now, Bob, we just executed something that you do between the Rennebeck family and the Chamberlain family this weekend, because I took something off the floor of Rachel's house in that we took a piece of furniture they weren't using anymore and we pulled it into my place, and now it's the guest bedroom. So
Oh, nice.
I'm guessing, is that sort of the basics of what Off the Floor does?
Yeah, so what we are is we're a furniture bank, and that's it, the best way to describe it. If you know what a food bank is, it's similar in concept. We provide folks who need furniture with furniture by accepting donations of furniture from other folks. So instead of collecting canned goods and boxes of food, we collect couches, tables, chairs, beds, dressers, that type of thing.
That's awesome. How long have you been in business?
We were founded in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So we're, I guess, 16 years, going on 17 now. I've been
Okay.
with them 10 years, so
Okay.
it's been a real adventure.
And assuming similar to the others who we've spoken to, the pandemic, I'm sure, brought you a ton of, or no? Was it the opposite?
Well, much like CJ, we had to shut down
Yeah.
for about 3.5 months. So we closed in March and resumed operations in June. In the meantime, we allowed folks to continue to drop off.
Oh, okay.
So we set it up so you could self-assist. You could drop off, leave your items in our truck, and then we would check the truck every day or two and then move it into the warehouse. We did that for a period of time until the warehouse became full. We were completely full, and both of our trucks sitting outside were packed the day we resumed operations. So we would come in and we would have to do some extra work periodically to remove items that we didn't keep. So things that we can't use go to other thrift stores.
Okay.
Or there's items that'll come to us that are more appropriate for Construction Junction.
Okay. So you filter through, essentially.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then decide where it's going to go from your hub.
Right.
Okay.
If we can't use it before we get rid of it, we try to figure out where it's best suited.
Okay.
So, whether it's Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul or one of the other thrift organizations, we will try to get it to them where it can have some purpose for somebody.
Gotcha.
But we've expanded what we use and what we keep now. So we've gotten, in the last couple years, more into a lot of housewares, small kitchen appliances that you would put on a countertop, microwaves, coffee makers, toasters. So even some decor items where we used to get rid of pictures and art, we will keep the larger pieces that we can put in a client's residence. So because they're usually in a very sterile environment.
Sure.
Now, Bob, given the I'm sure you did this before, but the COVID situation has doubled down on this. But when you take a piece in, do you clean it? When I'm thinking furniture and
what's
off
that
the floor,
process? Yeah.
What's that process here? So people would
Well,
understand.
generally, the industry standard is that any kind of contaminant on the surface is only going to last through maybe 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be in our possession for well more than that. So we do take precautionary measures with our crew, masking and gloves and things like that. And we try to make sure that it's as clean as it can go to a family that we give it to. So typically if something comes in, they almost always need cleaned because they're dusty or
Sure.
something like that. Upholstered fabrics we can look at and deal with differently. But we take a lot of care. One of the big concerns in our reuse community is more so with bugs, specifically bed bugs. So we have to pay attention to what comes into the warehouse before it actually enters. Because and we get this question a lot from clients and landlords. Do you check? Well, if we didn't, we could risk losing our entire inventory.
Right.
And then the cost for us to dispose of and treat would be just out of our control. We won't be able to handle that. So we try to prevent things that shouldn't come into our donation stream from coming in. So when we go to a house to do a pickup of a donation, our crew has the final say. The guys who are on the truck, even if the donation coordinator said we need this, if they get there and it doesn't meet our standard, then they can refuse it. And we do refuse stuff on a regular basis, but the standard by which we judge it is pretty simple. I've trained my crew that if you want to put that in my house or your house, why are we taking it to give to one of our clients?
There you go. Yeah.
So it has to be good enough for us in our home for it to be good enough for our client. So that's the point which they have to think. When they get there and it looks pretty beat, you need to make that decision. Don't bring it back, because then we pay to throw it away.
Oh, wow.
And we are a small organization with very limited resources. We do a lot with what we have, but the fact of the matter is we can't afford to spend money on waste disposal and things like that. So we try to prevent that from coming into our stream. If it should be recycled and go somewhere else, then we try to give them guidance on that. But as much as possible, we try to do a final inspection on it before it comes into our truck, into our warehouse. There's a little less inspection when somebody's dropping off. But again, people don't tend to drive their trash across town to dispose of it. They'll throw it to the curb.
Yeah.
But the remarkable thing is what we do does keep a tremendous amount out of the landfills. We probably average 2,000 to 3,000 or 2 to 3 trucks a week. So that's approximately a ton per truck that would otherwise possibly end up in a landfill.
Yeah.
And these are reusable furniture items that then go into the homes of folks in need.
Okay,
And
good
so
explanation. Yeah.
And so the outgoing part of it, is it only for the folks in need, or could someone just go and purchase like in a retail site
Or do you
outlet,
not
sort of like
purchase, it would
Construction
come
Junction here?
Yeah,
right.
we don't have our own retail outlet.
Okay.
Several reasons. One is we want to stay focused on our mission at hand, which is to provide furniture to people who don't have basic home furniture. A lot of our clients we partner with 40 social service agencies
saw
right
that.
now.
Yeah.
And they are everybody from Catholic Charities to Jewish Family Services to Montauk Community Services. All these major social service providers in the county will refer clients to us. So they've interviewed clients, they've determined there's a legitimate need. So we are actually addressing clients who have a real need. It's not just somebody says, well, I want a new couch. I'm going to go find me. I'm going to go ask.
So
when
it might
the
be a
word
social
client to
worker
me-
or somebody
yeah,
that's
I
contacting
gotcha.
So
you.
a social
Okay.
worker has dealt with the client at some point before they're referred to us. When they get referred to us, then we will re-interview the client, but from a
Okay.
different angle. We're wanting to get more information on their residence, what's it like, what do they have, what they don't have. And then our staff will then pick out what's appropriate for their request based on the information we got. And we will drill down sometimes with a client to what color is your carpet? We want to make sure, is it a solid carpet or is there pattern? So we don't want to give you a floral pattern couch if you've got a oriental looking rug. It's not going to look right together. So we will ask those types of questions so that we have the best
I love that.
visual of our own on what their space looks like.
So you're even interior designers.
Well, you have to be. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Our guys who drive the truck have gotten really good with color combinations.
sure.
And what goes, two plaids don't necessarily go together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And flowers and plaids can't match.
No,
Yeah.
ever.
Right. So
If only my dad
Shabby
was,
chic does not exist.
if
Right.
only my
No,
dad
no.
knew that on Easter Sundays. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
we try to drill down. But the clients, oftentimes, our clients come from a variety of backgrounds. They might be a homeless veteran.
Yeah.
They might be somebody transitioning out of a domestic violence situation, out of a shelter, now getting a new place. They could be one of the big groups that's expanding in our client base is kids aging out of foster care. They turn 18, they're no longer in the foster home, now they're on their own.
Okay.
And there's no family to support them.
Sure.
So we are the guys who will come in, work on their referral, get them the basic furniture for the apartment they were able to locate and get relocated to, and get them established. And so that includes things like the basic kitchen needs, dishes, pots, pans, even things like bath towels and linens for the beds. Our thing is always that if you don't have a bed, then why would we assume you have sheets and blankets for that bed?
That's a great point. Yeah.
So
you've expanded. So
yeah.
initial concept was furniture, but now you're
Correct.
seeing a greater need.
and it's really
to
for
kind
the
of-
house, whereas the rest of the things that turn that empty space into a home.
Gotcha.
That's
Wow.
really what our mission is, to take an empty space and turn it into a home.
That's amazing.
So if I'm emptying my parents' house, I can have an estate sale or whatever, but I can call you
Sure.
and have you come through it because I can get a donation to you to help other kind of keep recycling it versus.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. Some of the donations we get, when it was the parents' home's furniture, but it was their furniture when they lived at home. So I've seen dressers that are 90 years old because it was the grandfather's dresser that became the dad's dresser, the son's dresser. It ended up in their house and became their son's dresser. Now it's time to go buy new furniture. Frankly, furniture that was built that long ago was built well.
Yes.
Sure.
Not like what we might buy
Right.
today.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah.
you know, while they think it's old and it's no longer of value, it's got a lot of value.
Yeah.
And so when we get furniture in, a lot of it is marginal. And before we dispose of something, much like CG, there's always something that can be salvaged on it. A sofa that's broken, the feet might be salvageable. And you would be surprised. There's still a lot of people that use a phone book in this area for the fourth foot under the sofa. So if we can have those things saved when a sofa comes in, and the only thing wrong with it is missing a foot or 2 feet, we have hundreds of feet that we can pick from and maybe put all new feet on it or match them. Same thing with handles. If a dresser's broken and it's not salvageable, all the hardware comes off. All that hardware can be repurposed. And again, we don't want to give somebody a piece of furniture that's missing a main component.
Right.
We want it to be something that they can get 3 to 5 years out of it, because we've determined that if you were that person, a family of 4 living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and you had to go get some dining table and chairs, you had to go get living room furniture, some basics for the bedrooms, 2-3 beds, you would need approximately $1,500 to do that. And if you're in that situation where you end up with us, you don't have that kind of money to spend in the first place. So it's important that we give them something that will give them years worth of value. But at the same time, we want them to feel like this is now my home.
Yeah.
We don't want them to feel like it's all hand-me-downs
Right.
or somebody's junk.
And that's what I like. It's a concept.
It
you know,
is.
it's not
It is.
just the idea of a recycling process, which is great.
Right.
But I love the fact that there's a concept behind it.
Yeah, there's a pride and esteem. And honestly, from our standpoint, there's a great satisfaction. When you walk in and you see them sleeping on a bedspread on the floor, and now when we leave, they've got a bed, they've got dressers, they've got table, chairs, and they're sitting on the couch, and they can't even tell you thank you because they're so overwhelmed. That's really that's when you realize that all the effort we put into it's worth it.
Pays
You
off.
just answered the question I was about to ask you, because that has to be just what better feeling than to walk out of there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my first delivery at Off the Floor, my wife and I did. It was my first Saturday there, and a guy needed a bed. That's all he needed was a bed. We get there. He was an Army veteran. He had been living in an apartment for about 15 years, and he never had a bed. He got used to sleeping on the floor when he was in Vietnam, and so he hadn't had a bed. He was getting to the point where he was about late 60s, early 70s, and he just said, I can't take sleeping on the floor anymore. My back can't do it. So we set up a bed, and the guy was genuinely appreciative because he didn't have the resources to go get a bed, but it was the first bed he had in like over 15 years. He actually went out, his hobby was gardening. He went out and made a whole bouquet of flowers and brought them in for my wife while we were setting his bed up.
Oh, my
But
God.
at that point, I realized on my first delivery, what we do is life-changing for these people.
It's life-changing.
And it makes a big difference. And if you're
I have
if you're
goosebumps.
if you're stuck at home during COVID right now and you have no furniture, can you imagine what it's like?
No.
You know, at least your kids got out to go to school. You know, they had lunch at a table and chairs. Now you can't do that at home. The kids can't do homework when there's nowhere to sit and do the homework.
Right.
So they're not going to study well. You're not going to hold a job or do well at work if you're not sleeping in a bed at night. So there's a lot of science behind furniture that has a lot of psychological and physical benefits to somebody's well-being. So we think there's a lot more to it than just providing the furniture.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
I think you're right.
If you're a woman who came out of domestic violence, it's been studied and it's been tracked that within 30 days, if you're living in an empty space, you're apt to start thinking about going back to the violent situation because you thought, like, the kids were better, they had beds, we had a place to sit and eat. Here we are, we're sitting in an empty space. So if we can furnish that home in a timely manner, and we try to do that as quickly as we can, there's a likelihood, a 90% chance they're not going to go back to that situation because they've turned a corner. They've reestablished themselves. Same thing with a homeless veteran. Studies have proven that within 60 to 90 days living in an empty space, they'll be back on the street because it just makes more sense to them. At least I could go to the shelter and I had a bed to sleep in, and I had a hot shower, and I had a meal.
Wow.
Listen, I'm going to admit something. There used to be a word I said, which is interesting. And when I would say that's interesting, he knew I wasn't interested. And you guys have completely changed. So if you hear me saying it, you're that's interesting. It's life changing. That's the word that you can use about.
Yeah,
this,
there's
right?
no question. Oh my God. I mean, and so let's get to, where does everybody find you online?
Okay, so on our website is offthefloorpgh.org. And we are on Facebook, and you have to use Off the Floor Pittsburgh in the search.
Okay.
Got
So,
it. Follow.
But
for
yeah,
sure.
Wow.
follow us. You can, if you want to donate, you can go online to our webpage. Right now, our donation stream is drastically up. We're running almost 300% what we would normally get like last year. So we're a little overwhelmed right now. Our space isn't that big, and it's kind of overrunning us a little bit. But we will get to people, and it takes a little bit of time.
Sure.
But yeah, you can support us. We don't get any stream of financial support committed, like from United Way or anything like that. So we depend on donations and fundraisers and things.
Okay.
So their support is always appreciated. And for a couple $100, you can put furniture in a whole family's home. So.
Well, yeah, I can't even imagine it. Yeah, that's it. And if you're listening to the podcast and you know of someone who needs this, please get
in
a hold of
contact
Bob,
for
because
Yeah, you can reach out to us. We'll
Yeah.
help you get into the stream. We do require referrals, but oftentimes what we've found is that if you need furniture, there's a lot of other help you need besides furniture.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we will direct you in the direction of 211 and the United Way to help you get into the right contacts and eventually get into our system.
Okay.
We're a small team. We don't do casework, but we do give you guidance in how you get the help.
Bob Myers, thank you so much. Off the floor, Pittsburgh.
What's his T-shirt gonna say?
Yeah, I know.
What's your T-shirt saying? Or your
Turning
hat-
empty houses into homes.
That was too easy. He's like, I already had that figured
Yeah,
out.
all right.
Thank you so much, Bob. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Cool.
And we get to hear more music. This is so. I'm glad he decided to stay. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Michelle, come on in. Good to see you.
So good to see you guys too. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
We created a code on our website for your specific
Oh, cool, okay.
your YaJagoff.com.
Okay.
But it's YaJagoff20, and they get 20% for the entire month of February. If you guys want it.
Oh, Michelle, yeah, we'll post it all over.
Okay, yeah. So just so you know, I don't know if I can do that or not, so I had her do it. So,
Yeah? Well, that's awesome. Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to hug you or just, yeah, I don't know.
at this point, I'm like, all of this is so awesome.
Yeah, right.
Oh my
It is
God.
crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is. I was in tears with it.
Oh, I know how to say it.
I mean, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
It's survival. That's exactly right. People can't find and do it. It's amazing.
Well, you can go ahead and have a seat. And, oh, okay.
They're not super cold, but they are.
Thank God. See, I planned this.
Yeah, right.
Like, I can have
Ray tried a little bit of a rough for you.
You guys want to matter?
It's fine. He cleaned them, so it's fine.
Yeah, so you can sit right there if you want. Yeah.
There?
Yep, that's fine. Yep.
Colin, I can do commercial. When you had too much Cheetos the night before, Ginger's asked us what you should have.
Haha. All right. Now, are we referring to Michelle as the last guest?
Yeah, because it's fine.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. All right. I'm ready to roll when you are.
That is so good.
Which one? The ginger?
Yes.
Oh my God.
What are you trying?
Such a
It comes from the ginger is a Peruvian ginger farmer. I always say I'm in love with a Peruvian ginger farmer I've never met. It's the entire vertical, all organic, and he presses it like 3 weeks before I need it. Oh, so it's super fresh. That way you get
That's
that
amazing.
herby floral.
Yeah.
finish, and then, yeah.
Cool.
This is good.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, John's drinking now. He's drinking. He's becoming hydrated thanks to the Bloom honey water. And which one are you trying? Wild blueberry.
I have wild blueberry, and wow, it's so good. It's just like medium, like kind of right into it.
Oh my God. Well, and the funny part is we have wanted to have
Michelle?
on for how long? Remember, we had her in the bullpen a couple of months ago, and then when this podcast came up, we were like, this is absolutely perfect timing to have her come on because we need water. Really,
And
I needed water
because we
from the
had
night
scheduled
before.
a hard night of drinking the night before to celebrate my kids' birthdays.
Yeah.
And we're like, Michelle would be the perfect guest the next day.
It's like we knew. So
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah,
Hold
we're
on
so
one
glad to
second.
have
Let
you.
me turn up your...
And we know that
Hold
you
on.
had.
Sorry, let me... what color is your microphone? Red. Thank you. I'm sorry. All right, go for it. There we go.
We know that you had an affiliation here because you would partake in the Big Pour, correct?
Absolutely. Actually,
Yeah.
it's sort of like old school for me because my first life, I spent 20 years in craft beer. So the Big Pour here in Pittsburgh was the,
Yeah.
the place to be for
Right.
craft brewers. So the first 20 years of my life in beverage were with craft beer.
Okay.
With the Big Pour. And then when we launched Bloom, we were thrilled that the first year we were able to participate as the craft non-alcoholic option to keep people hydrated.
That's awesome.
So
talk a little bit about Bloom. Again, we use this phrase a lot for someone who lives under a rock because we've seen so much more from Bloom. How long have you been around?
So we launched in June of 2016.
Okay.
Very much sticking close to home, listening to the consumer, figuring out, what they wanted, what the feedback was, and the good feedback. And you guys may remember we were in a little small
Yes.
bottle in the first days. And what we started to hear was people wanted a larger bottle. They wanted more of the water. They wanted to be able to see the water. So after about a year of, I think I was in front of, 100,000 consumers at that point, we went into more R&D. So we always knew we wanted to get our organic certification, and then we started researching new bottles and packaging. The beautiful thing was the florals, everyone loved the florals and loved the bee. So we were able to leverage those onto the new packaging, and we relaunched with the new bottle in 2019, and it's been an amazing success for us.
And I love
They
the
are
fact...
so pretty.
I
It's
love
like
the
little
fact
works
that
of art.
this is a Pittsburgh story, right?
is.
This started here, and you got... I've seen other honey water, but it seems... I remember being at your launch party.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is, I don't think I'm not that worldly, but I never heard anything about honey water. So you were sort of before the curve,
Pioneer.
right?
Exactly. So we like to say we're creating the category based on the first Olympiads. The first Olympiads used honey and water for hydration and energy because honey has this beautiful level energy source. It doesn't spike and drop, it's spikeless. So you get this beautiful hydration, and then you get an energy source. And our bodies know what to do with honey. It's a natural sweetener. It's the first sweetener. So they know how to, our bodies know how to process honey. And even though it's glucose and fructose, it actually processes with all the other little components that the beautiful bees partake into it. We're all cutting sugar, right? Because it's hidden in everything, and when we overconsume it, we don't use it for energy,
Right.
and it converts to fat. Honey sugars, on the other hand, when we use it with this level energy source, and then what we don't use is actually converted to glycogen, stored in our liver as an energy reserve. So honey is it's an amazing product.
This might be the most educational podcast we've
Listen,
had
I was
yet.
just going to say that.
But all the guests at this
I
point.
feel smart.
Yeah.
I
I feel like I should have paid more attention to math when we had the first guest on. I feel like I should have paid more attention in my anatomy and physiology stuff. That's crazy. No. Yeah, and so you came into this business with a little bit of experience. As you
Yes.
said, your previous life, craft beer. So, but this is still something new. So what were the sort of, not the mistakes, but what did you think and then had to rearrange? I know when you talked about, the bottles, but what
Right.
was the most challenging thing? You're like, oh no, I had this as a slam dunk, and you had to completely reverse.
Right. So I would say the two biggest learning opportunities were the distribution network on the natural organic side is very different from the beer distribution model. Very different. So it was learning that, and then the other side of it was, the opportunity to educate, how to really, so what, our pillars are collaborate and illuminate. So we want to be educating on the importance of pollinators. We want to be teaching people how to be beeless beekeepers. So finding our way to do that, as well as building a business, right? Super mission based. How do we get there? Not everyone can be a beekeeper. So we've sort of found our way. So it was sort of the distribution network first, and then really starting to focus in on the mission and how we parallel that against building a business and building a category.
Yeah. And what about something as simple as flavor? How do you decide that? Did you do some kind of like market research?
So interestingly, what you'll hear from most entrepreneurs is, right, you have no money in the beginning. So my original partner and I,
I watch Shark Tank, so I know all about
Yes, exactly. And as you go down this path, you wonder if you ever will have any money.
Sure.
But so the first place we started was with honey. Most people don't realize that we have 300 varieties of honey just here in the United States. So a variety of honey is dictated by where the bees are foraging. So a lot of us will see multifloral, wildflower honey, and that means that the bees are foraging on all sorts of different flowers, right? So it might be a meadow of flowers. But you also have lavender honey. So that means that the bees are specifically placed in lavender fields to forage on lavender flowers, or alfalfa, or buckwheat. So in the United States, there's avocado honey. There's coffee blossom honey from South America. It's amazing. Yeah. It's just been such a journey.
Yeah.
So
now, did you know that before?
Were you interested in that?
So I was a honey person before. So I was obsessed with honey before. I shouldn't say I was obsessed with honey. I was a big honey user. I am now obsessed with honey.
Yeah, sure.
And so that was our first place, was understanding the nose of the honeys, almost like wine, how it hit your palate, how it tasted. And then we just started playing around. The first experiment, I've been an organic gardener for, probably 20 years. And so my vegetable garden, I went out and I was like, okay, I love hot and sweet together. So I picked a jalapeno pepper. I put it in with some honey and water into a mason jar, and I let it sit there for a couple days, and I came back, and you know how it gets that stringy stuff when something is decomposing?
Yep.
It's like, I'm not tasting that. But we literally just started playing around with ingredients. And then we actually came up with 6 different recipes. And we called family and friends. I think it was about 100 people. I had to Bill Perry's. And I gave them a clipboard coming in. I had them taste all 6. And after we were done, and we had all these different questions about what we were talking about, or what we wanted to learn. And ultimately, these 3 flavors were the 3 that rose to the top. And what's fascinating and very atypical in consumer product goods is all 3 of them sell equally.
And just for mention, it's ginger zest, citrus vanilla, and wild blueberry.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And
also different. There's really
very.
not any kind of overlapping of flavor.
Exactly. And what our first multi-state, so here in Pittsburgh, in the home market, we have Whole Foods, we have Giant Eagle Market Districts, and a lot of great support from small independent grocers like Shadyside Market, Feast, and Aspamall. Just amazing support. But our first really large, 160 stores was the Fresh Market, which took us down the East Coast into Florida. And the buyer called me and he said, Michelle, we have never seen anything like this. They sell equally. There's no dog and there's no lead dog, which is beautiful. And it's to exactly your point. All 3 sort of appeal to a different. The citrus vanilla is super light and refreshing. The wild blueberry goes a little culinary with a rosemary nose, blueberry, and then a black peppercorn finish. And then the ginger zest is like this earthy floral ginger nose.
It is.
Honey hit.
Yeah.
And then the sneaky heat on the back end.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I know.
I remember.
That's
See,
crazy.
I remember tasting.
That's a great description.
Yes.
I didn't even know what she was drinking, but I do remember that from the taste.
Yep. So we've really had fun with it, and we've got a couple surprises coming for 2021 with some potentially a new flavor and some other different items that coming out. So we're excited about that.
Okay.
And then really what we're excited about, which we got knocked off of with COVID, is our urban forage gardens. So urban beekeeping it sort of flies in the face of what you would think that rural and suburban beekeepers would be healthier hives and more productive, but it's actually urban hives that are the most productive and healthy from a colony perspective. So we had gone into talks with Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia to start planting urban forage gardens so the bees have enough forage to keep their hives healthy. Because one of the things I know, so we're hoping to get back on track with planting our urban forage gardens, and then we work really closely with Berg Bees, and then another beekeeper here, Steve Rapaski from Meadow Sweet Apiaries, on learning about the bees, working the hives, and those kinds of things.
Wow. So interesting.
Yeah,
Seriously.
this is crazy. So, just to tease everybody, in a minute we're going to give you this code so you can get this at a discount. But so, woman-owned business. I think this is the craziest thing out of it all. You had you had a nice job, you had a nice living, right? You didn't have to go torture yourself and decide to start a business. So, for any woman considering, midstream, you have a great job, you just want to go do your dream. What tips would you give at that point?
One of the biggest things I think is if you're passionate, obsessed about doing something, follow it. Educate yourself first, follow it, and it's not easy. Choosing to do this is not for the meek. You have to be, as I say, I leap out of bed every day at 4:30 a.m. and, you go all day and just believe in yourself and find good mentors. That's the other thing. I have had so many amazing people cross our paths that just, the community of entrepreneurs and we sort of cross over all these different things. As I was sitting here listening to your other guest, I was blown away. I spent 4 days in Boulder, Colorado last January about this time, and it was about regenerative agriculture, about recycling, and that crosses over with what we do. We're in a plastic bottle. Our industry is trying to figure out what do we do here. And it's really, really challenging because Europe is coming up with some options, but they're not readily available. They're certainly not available to smaller companies because of the cost yet. But we're all sort of working at it together and, crossing over to regenerative ag or regenerative gardening. I'm probably one of the people my neighbors hate the most because I use nothing, right? You could walk into my vegetable garden, you can eat something right off of the vine. But I also let all my dandelions bloom every year because that's the first food for the bees coming out of the winter hive. Which, as you would imagine, when they go to those puffy little things that scatter all the seeds, my neighbors are not happy.
It could be worse, though.
Exactly. I could be
you could be a much worse neighbor.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
But part of that is what's so funny, and I love to educate on this one piece because it's part of what we do. Is there is no organic honey available in the United States. We have no organic hives, and the reason for that is sort of what we're talking about. Bees forage in a 5-mile radius of their hives. For something to be a hive to be certified organic, it has to be certified soil up. Trees, dirt, everything in a 5-mile radius. It's a little over 3,000 acres for us to have organic hives. It's my big, audacious goal to be a part of hopefully leading that one day. But and it's because of the things that we choose to put in our water, in our dirt, on our plants, all those different things.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my other thing I'll share with you. Okay. We can all be beeless beekeepers. I was sitting in outside of Denver, probably in 2016, 17, with a beekeeper saying, we're going to promote everyone being beekeepers. We want more bees, blah, blah. And he was like, that's not a good plan. It's expensive. It's hard. You've got to find a different way. And I was like, okay, so what you're telling me is I have to create beeless beekeepers. And I was like, I need to trademark that first. But basically, every decision that we make affects a pollinator. right? What we're putting, so we really have this huge educational push about, make good choices. Look and see if the plants you're buying at your local garden center are neonicotinoid free. Were they grown in an area that they weren't grown? It all makes a difference. So we have this beautiful passion for educating and making all of us beeless beekeepers.
I love this.
That's the T-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't mean to spoil it, but that's
So
the T-shirt.
before we go to your T-shirt, so there's a discount or
Yes.
a promotion.
Yes. If you go for the month, starting today through the end of February, if you go to bloomhoneywater.com, and it's BLUME honeywater.com, and you use the code YaJagoff 20, you'll get 20% off your order.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Look at
Cool.
us.
Yeah.
All right, and what's
We're
the
gonna be
website
ordering
again?
like crazy.
Bloom.
Bloom, BLUME honeywater.com.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And what's your T-shirt? This is good.
Oh, so I have to say it's Live in Full Bloom.
I was doing the
BLUME.
Yeah.
BLUME.
I am so glad we finally got the chance to catch up with you because
it's emails from Rhonda and all that kind of stuff. It was a perfect podcast. So here we go. This is the end of the podcast,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And we
Maestro, it's the end.
Yeah. All right.
I've just wanted to say that the
So
whole
we
time.
have to thank Michelle. We have to thank Bob. We have to thank Melissa and Mike and Sarah. And thanks to
He's
Colin
never good with names, so this is impressive. Yeah.
And thanks. I mean, this is just a bit. And thanks to Tracy again, who puts all of this together. She puts us in a place to be successful with all these.
And when I
people.
share the podcast each week, like I feel hokey saying like this might be my favorite. This was so educating. You hit it on the head. It was so educational.
Yeah, we went a little over this week, but you know what?
It's worth it.
Yeah, just do an extra 10 minutes on your treadmill while you listen. That's all. So thanks again to everybody. Thanks especially to Rohrich Honda, right?
Yep.
Oh, we didn't thank Hillary.
I was like my maestro.
Right.
I almost said maestro. My maestro. But thanks to Rohrich Honda, Christmas may be host to mega deals that we can drive away with happy. But February is the month we love at Rohrich Honda. For the first time ever, Rohrich Honda will offer 0% financing for up to 60 months on select vehicles.
We say don't be a jagoff and ask which ones. Head to West Liberty Avenue and check out the options. Okay, 2020s, CRVs, HRVs, and Ridgelines, as well as 21s. That includes the Pilot, like Rachel drives. Listen to the podcast and head to Rohrich.com for all of your vehicle needs.
Done. That was amazing.